this dream. Okay, folks. We have an excellent connection. Okay. And the video is doing okay. Alright, so this video is going to be an examination of two different video systems we have. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut over to camera 4, and we'll take a look at this camera, and then I'm going to drop my DTV. Now what we're looking at here is the AViPas, and the AViPas is as you can see, doing quite well in a very dimly lit room. And that is as opposed to the Canon, which is, I tried to make it the same shot as the AViPas, but you can see that that's a much darker image and than the AViPas. The AViPas seems to be optimized. This is the AViPas again. Seems to be optimized for standard office lighting conditions. Okay. Now as I'm going to pop out of the frame here for a bit, and I'm going to turn on some lighting so you can see what difference lighting makes with this system. So hang on one if you would please. First one I'm going to turn on is my primary light, and that's over here. So we turn you on. Then I'm going to come over here, and this is my fill light. I'll turn this one on. And then the final light that I'm going to turn on as I go out of the frame and then back into the frame, you can see me behind the chair. This is my backlight, okay, which will help get rid of some shadows. Now I'm going to walk back around and get into this just to give you an idea of the differences between these two video systems. They both have very good clarity. I mean, it's difficult to say. Now, if you look at under this lighting condition, you look at the AViPas, which we're still on. I mean, it's very bright. And that's in an automatic mode. If I switch over to the Canon now, the Canon looks a lot better. It's much happier in this mode. So the question is whether or not the AViPas can be toned down, so to speak, in regard to how it might look on camera. And the answer to that question is, actually, it can be. If I go into the configuration system, which is available online, I should say, when you're connected to the AViPas in terms of a network connection, which we would have, this is the actual control panel associated with the AViPas. And I'm going to just pop back over here for a moment to my control panel, and I'm going to cut us over to the AViPas just so you can see a little bit better some of the tweaks I'm going to try to make on this. I can come over here into my video parameters, and I have control over a lot of different things here. I can change the exposure. Right now it's on full automatic. If I switch it over to manual, which I wasn't able to show everybody, I can close down the iris and I can speed up the shutter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be manually shutting down the iris just to darken it up some. And now taking a look at this and doing an A-B compare, you'll notice that the AViPas is still bright, but it's beginning to approach a little bit better the relative lighting conditions. It's still picking up a very kind of a blue tint. So that's running at a shutter speed of 1/500th of a second, which of course is kind of bogus because there's no such thing. The gain is on 15. I can drop the gain on that too, make it even a little bit darker. I can also take the shutter speed, and the slower I go, the more light will come in. So let's go a little bit faster. Let's kick it up to 1000. And that's a little bit darker yet, but it still has a color cast to it, doesn't it? Well, this is on auto white mode. If I go over here to manual, now I can play up with all kinds of things. I can take the hue. You'll notice that it's now kind of a reddish hue, right? Well, that's because that's where I left it the last time I was playing with it. If I run the hue up and down, it gets more red there. It gets less red there. So maybe I want to have a little there, but I want a little less green. Or maybe I want to have a little less color. You can see that I'm changing the color. I have all kinds of control over this color of what it's putting out. That's a little bit more blue now, isn't it? That's the blue-green. If I shift it to the green side, it's a little bit warmer, but now it's a little bit too red. So I'm going to shift it over further to the green side a little bit. Change the hue, push it up some, up some. And you can begin to see now that it is possible, with tweaking and getting it set up right the first time, you can actually get the AViPas to do just about anything you want to in terms of its color. But you'd have to set that up ahead of time. I'm going to knock the saturation down to 90 and tell it to refresh it. So now the colors aren't so saturated. Maybe I want to go down to 80% and tell it to apply that. Now the colors are warming up some. So this is what it looks at full red-green. That's full green this way. You can see it's a very blue cast. We'll get rid of some of the blue cast and get some of the red back in there. Take the hue, drop it down some. The saturation, let's put the saturation at maybe 70%. Refresh the camera. And now you're getting a picture that's a little bit nicer. Now, bear in mind that's versus automatic. This is back to automatic. Refresh it, and you can see that it's a little bit different. So you can play with the white white balance, the white and blue balance. Do a refresh on this thing. It's very bright. Now this was for automatic. It was up at 100% too. So you can adjust the color on this thing, and you can adjust the exposure on this thing. You can adjust just about anything you want. Here's image. The default gamma on the image, I can change that down to there. That makes it even darker. Put it back to default. The image brightness, I can brighten that image up if I want to, after I get it where I think I want it. And now if I A/B between the two cameras, I'm getting a little bit closer. I've got, from what I can see, I don't have quite enough light coming in, because you'll notice on the Canon how it is picking up a lot more silver on the hair, and this one is dulled down some. So maybe on the AViPas we have to go back to the exposure and open up that iris a little bit, put it on 1 to 500, and open it up, and now we start getting the color, the brightness in the hair back. So the thing I believe that we should look at is, among other things, is when we take a look at an image quality, this particular image is fine, certainly for this distance. My camera, in fact, if you look over in over this way, if you look over this way, that thing right there is the back of the Canon. So it's sitting about a foot in front of the AViPas. And again, the Canon looks like this. Put it on the Canon for a moment. Has a nice appearance, but for low lighting conditions, it's horrible. You have to have a lot of light. It's designed to shoot in the daylight, and so I have these lights in here fairly bright. The AViPas can be toned down. It's actually brighter than it needs to be. So you put it on automatic and away it goes. I think it's fine. Now, among other things that this has that I do not have on the Canon, the AViPas actually allows me to come in and I can change not only the shutter speed, the f-stop in manual mode. If I go back to auto mode and tell it to refresh, now I'm back in auto mode. The color, white balance is in auto mode. The image is in default gamma, which is gain, how much electronic gain you have. Noise reduction. This has noise reduction. Right now my 3D noise reduction is set on 3, which is very, very minimal. I can go all the way up to 8. For the 2D, I'm on 3. I can go all the way up to 8, so it has a tremendous range of electronic noise reduction. In the style, it's default. I can set it to normal and hit the refresh button, and now it'll be in a normal position. If I want it to be for clarity, I can hit the clarity button, and that'll give me about the clearest signal that I'm going to see. Yep, I'm up on camera 1. Let's take a A/B between that again. There it is right there. So when I'm up on these various settings, the style, that's clarity. You can see how bright and how sharp that is. This is normal. This is default. This is where it starts out just automatically when you turn it on. The focus, you can make the right now the autofocus zone is all. I can put it in the center of the screen so that stuff out here doesn't get in the way, just what's happening in the center. You can set the sensitivity to middle and high. I've got it on low right now. And the autofocus mode can be manual or something called one push. One push doesn't really make any difference. It's on auto. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is that under exposure, it's on auto right now, but I have flicker reduction. I can set the flicker reduction to 50 Hertz, or I can set it to 60 Hertz. That's something I can't do on the Canon. I can't tell it to flicker reduce at 60 Hertz or 50 Hertz. So, I mean, that's the blue flicker that we were getting. That's a setting that's available through the remote control or available through this control panel that I'm running on my computer. And just to give you an idea of what you can do with this control panel, I can zoom in and out. I can pan up and down like that, left and right. I can also change the brightness, and I can make some adjustments. I'm playing with the focus right now. If I put the focus in the manual mode, or even this one here, this one push mode is interesting. If you hit the one push button, it'll go from wherever it was to wherever it needs to go. But if you're panning this thing, I mean, here again, the image that I'm seeing on my big screen is much different. I'm seeing a much better picture, but I'm monitoring what I'm seeing going out online. And you also have presets. You have access to your presets here. So you could go from scene 1, boom, go to scene 2, boom, all that good stuff. So I'm not going to belabor the point anymore with this. I think when we're looking at cameras, this is a pretty stock. It's nice and warm. It takes a lot of light to do this. It may take, I think we have enough light on the stage, but because this camera is designed for a little bit closer in look, when we're zoomed out to the stage, it is, I think it'll be bright enough. And just to give you an idea of how far this thing can zoom in, this is going to be pretty ugly for, on me, no doubt. Let's go over here, we'll come back over to auto, and I'm just going to zoom in. This thing will get very tight indeed. All right. Now that's pretty clear. You can see all of the hairs, and if I point up, you could probably see things that I wouldn't normally like you to see. If you look closely, I'll get the hair out of the way here for a moment, and if I can, that's this side. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, get more of it out of the way. If you look, that black thing up here in the corner is my microphone. I mean, you can see things with this camera which are just fine, because it's sitting so much closer to the stage than the other ones. Just imagine this is probably the camera has a 10x optical zoom with a 5x. Okay, your cameras have 20x. So it's very close, but we're half the distance. We don't need a 20x camera. What we need to do is we need to be able to see if we have clarity in that camera. And because let me zoom up onto the eyebrows here and let it, because remember I have it set for a very narrow focus. And we'll get this out of the way so you can see. I mean, you can see right here, here it's over on this side. You see that little eyebrow hair? That's the kind of resolution this stupid camera has. So when we take a look at this, I got to put my glasses back on so I can see I'm going to go down a little bit. I'm going to zoom back out to see where we can stop seeing that eyebrow hair. It's still there. You can still see it. I'm backing out. It's still resolving to it. You can just barely see it over here. It's right in that area. See that little white hair right there? You can see that. What more resolution do you want? I've looked at the specs. The dynamic noise of this camera is less than 55 dB. On a PTZ optics, it's less than 55 dB. There are some finer adjustments you can make on the PTZ optics. Granted, it may have a slightly better lens on the PTZ optics. Granted. But the question is it worth, this is a $625 camera, and you're going to pay $1,600 to $1,700 for the other one. Is that worth it? I don't know. But somebody needs to make a decision. So hopefully this will give you an idea of what you can and cannot do with that camera. I'm going to zoom it back out here a little bit. try to get the images to where they are about the same. Cut over. Again, that's the Canon. It's nice and warm. And this is the PTZ optic. It's much brighter. But again, I can change that. And you can change it. And when you change it, it stays where you change it. So it's once you get it set, it should stay there. And I don't see any problem with that at all. So yeah, so that's pretty much where we are with this thing. I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing off because I don't think I need to do any much more talking, or if at all anything here. So we're running along just fine. 367. I'm going to go ahead and stop this broadcast, and I'm going to cut it off at the live streaming side. So I'm going to end the stream right about now. Normally I'd put the tag page up, but I had to do something funny to get that done. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream now. Take care, everybody.